Good morning, everyone. This is Naman, and I'm here in Detroit, Michigan. And welcome to this innovation clinic. And today we're talking about business model reinvention in hotel industry. So, just want to give you a little background here. We started this innovation clinic to talk about industry problems, the problems that are created because of this massive disruption, and we're happy to host this innovation clinic on topics that are critical to the industry, critical to people, and we're here to help. Thank you. And with this, I'd like to introduce our expert panel. My name is Naman. I am with Transform Mobility, and I've been in the business transformation space for 20 plus years. And with this, I have Irfan Ahmed Saab. Please introduce Irfan Saab.
My name is Irfan Ahmed. I generally work out of Dubai, but I'm currently in Karachi under lockdown. My specialty, if I can call it a specialty, is in digital marketing. I've been involved in advertising for all my life. I started with print, moved on to online banner advertising, and now I'm involved in out-of-home digital marketing.
Wow. So Irfan Ahmed Saab is an expert in digital marketing, and we welcome him as well. The next superstar with our innovation clinic is Mubashir Khanzada. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, hi, my name is Mubashir. I'm based in UK. My main area of interest are innovation and creative thinking, but especially with an interest in digital technologies and platforms. I run a few businesses, mainly in the software and IT world, and I'm very interested in how innovation impacts the business models and business process reengineering.
Very good. Thank you. So let's go. Let's see what's going on right now. So real quick, I'm in Michigan right now. We are in a lockdown, and I think this has been extended for the middle of May right now. So we're pretty much staying home, and we're just moving just for groceries or some special occasions. Yesterday, I went to the park, took a walk with my daughter. The weather was very nice, but we're just accepting this lockdown right now and just staying below the radar. So just an update from Michigan. What is going on in Pakistan?
I'm in Karachi, and it's more or less the same. You get to find out more about what is in your house because you are basically a prisoner at home. Again, one can venture out. It's not uncommon for people to leave their homes and go outside during the non-lockdown hours, which are from 8 in the morning until 5 in the evening. But I avoid going out unless it's absolutely essential. So about once a week, I go out to get the groceries. Last week, I took my wife, my son, and my grandson out in the car. My grandson had not gone outside for more than 30 days. He's just been confined indoors. So for him, even the sunlight was a little too glaring. So these are the kind of things that one experiences while in lockdown. But I think it also gives you the opportunity to think about all those projects that you never got around to doing because you were busy. So here's this webinar that I'm taking part in. Always wanted to be part of something of this nature. So that's something new for me.
Very good, very good. What is happening in UK?
You know, I think the positive side of coronavirus is for all the geeks and nerds who hate going out and are always couch potatoes. So now there is a legitimate excuse to be a couch potato and binge watch all the stuff on Amazon Prime or Netflix and whatever else that happens. But joking aside, I think it's the same here as well. And everywhere in the world, they are utilizing the social distancing protocols to slow down the spread of the virus, which is good. And hopefully, this pandemic will pass and people would come out on the other side stronger and better.
Right, right, right. I think things will get better. I'm hopeful. I think we're all hopeful. I just want to bring just a thought here, because we're going through a change process, okay? And the secret of change is to focus your energy not on fighting the old, but to build the new. And I think this is the thought I think we should keep in mind is we're building something new, which I've been calling next normal, new normal, or whatever people are calling right now. But we need to focus on building the new, not to focus on what was past. So, okay, all right. So we're talking about the hotel industry, but the disruption in hotel industry is not new, okay? For the last few years, we have been seeing Airbnb. We saw a number of platforms came into existence that rocked this industry, that just completely disrupted this industry. And some of the best players like Marriott, Holiday Inn, Hilton's, and these platforms gave the run for their money to these established companies. So these are some of the things that I've been seeing, but I want to maybe hear from you about this disruption in hotel industry that was happening before COVID, okay? And what was the change that you guys see in this space?
I think in terms of the overall disruption, uh, this is shared, the sharing economy kind of thing, which has been disrupting almost every sector. We have seen Uber disrupting the car industry, and now people are thinking of not really owning a vehicle for themselves, but using Uber for all their transportation needs. Similarly, the hotel industry is one which has seen Airbnb come in as a major player. Airbnb, just like Uber, does not own any hotel real estate, but they're one of the biggest players of the hospitality industry without owning any physical assets. So that's what is the disruption that has come in. But along with that, it has created different markets in the sense that if I, as a homeowner, have a room to rent, I can now rent it out via Airbnb and make some extra income. But one of my colleagues who not only has a room to rent, he also has the resources to buy an apartment and rent that out and make that into a side business. I think those are the people who have really started dominating the industry. They've changed the pricing system, like housing in various cities has become very expensive, and that has totally disrupted the economy of various cities. Because just like not having a medallion and running a cab with Uber, it's disrupted the industry, it has disrupted the traditional players. So similarly, people who have now started buying apartments and renting them out, they're disrupting the traditional hotel industry. I mean, all this was prior to COVID. So that major change has been going on. Post-COVID, we'll discuss how that
Right,
has been impacted as well.
right. But I think that the key point here is what I'm hearing is is the not owning anything, this sharing economy. And I think post-COVID, in my view, I think this will become a key point in not owning anything. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Mubashir, any comments from you on this about you've been seeing this disruption? What happened? Okay, give me some comments. You are an innovation expert in the digital industry. Tell us about something.
So it's an interesting one because what has happened is that hotels have been around for ages, like since forever. But basically, there are specific characteristics of each industry, and so for hotel industry, for example, you have to find a place in a commercial real estate location, city centers or near important places. These tend to be expensive. Then you have to build a big building so that you can maximize the return on investment from that commercial real estate in the prime location, which is going to come with a lot of associated costs and taxes. And therefore, you end up kind of having always a struggle between efficient use of the space or inefficient use of the space, and not to mention the high cost of construction and the long construction lead times, and then cash flow challenges, etc. Here comes another paradigm, and basically it challenges Uber, and we talked about Uber there, and Airbnb. They challenge the very long held perception or assumption that when we are children, we are told this: do not get into the car with a stranger, or do not go into somebody else's house and live there that you don't know that person. And these paradigm shifts, by challenging those assumptions and breaking those walls, these newcomers have really changed the playing field by enabling participation from stakeholders that previously were not part of the equation. So now, if you have a small house, as long as you can spare an additional bedroom or extra bedroom, you are able to get in the game. You can play the game on your turf, and your house may or may not be in the prime location or real estate, but who cares? Because the visitor who is coming in may actually prefer that. They might wish a quieter area, or their preferences or priorities are different. That then means that by enfranchising or enabling or empowering new participants in the equation and new stakeholders, that has expanded the choices for both parties, or all stakeholders. And that's where the power of multi-faceted platforms, multi-sided platforms come in from.
Right. No, I think a beautiful perspective here, Mubashir, about these platforms and how this whole industry is evolving, and then the breaking of these paradigms. Our paradigms that we used to have. Okay, and this is where innovation and it comes into the play. This is so critical that we think creatively these old paradigms and we challenge them. So very nicely said. And we're going to talk some more. I'd like to talk some more about this during this program. But let's see what happened here. So there was disruption before, but then came COVID. This is just a graph I'm showing from Europe in Milan. Okay, on the week of February 24th. Okay, occupancy rates down more than 70%. It's a huge decline, huge disruption. The whole ecosystem is disrupted right now. It's totally changed. Here's another one that is coming from the US, that the occupancy rates fall 67% or more. And this is a quote from the hotel industry. So now this is a greater challenge that we're seeing here, which we have not seen. We've not even imagined this challenge. So moving forward, I think we need to think very different. And I like to talk about in this show that what are the thoughts. Okay, so with this, I'm just gonna move along, and I'm gonna talk about a real quick perspective about aspiration, because when changes happen, you need to aspire, you need to change your aspirations, your vision. Um, you need to understand like what you're going to do next. So this is something that I teach in my workshops. It's called Aspiration Blueprint. It has three components. Number one, guiding principle. What is the purpose of the company, or what is your purpose? What guides you? What is your passion? Okay, what is your dream? Where are you heading? So we need to understand that what is the guiding principle we have, okay, as company, and how can we maybe look at that to create this aspiration, the new vision moving forward. Number two is the winning capability, and this is very important, which is that what is your capability that makes you win? And now these days, it's not the capability of you, but the whole ecosystems. That is another important point. And number three is what is the exciting opportunity? So when you look at these three things, you can develop the aspiration blueprint or your vision for the future. So let's keep these in mind, and let's talk about the problem that we have, and then how can we maybe solve that problem, and what is maybe our perspective on that. So one of the things, Mubashir, you've been talking about this, to look at things through the new lens from the innovation perspective. Tell us about this this activity, please.
Right. So basically, innovation happens when people make a jump from what they are previously thinking about in their fixed ways to maybe in a different shift of perspective, in a different way. The looking at something and just thinking that this is what it is fit for is a fixedness. It's a purpose fixedness. And in our workshops and boot camps, try to kind of encourage people to look at things out with their stated objectives and think about them from a new perspective, using a new lens. What else can it be used for? So it's a good exercise, and anybody can do it. Take an ordinary everyday object and look at it from a different perspective, in a different way. So if you guys are up for it, we can do this as a quick exercise here. We'll take a couple of minutes only. Take an object like the common building brick and look at it through a new lens and come up with other uses, possible uses, or utilization for it. So just in 60 seconds, just very quickly scribble down a few of the uses that you can think of. So Dr. Irfan, you and Noman Saab yourself as well, please. Let's go for it.
I think what some of the things that are coming to my mind is we can do a catch ball with the brick. We can do maybe use it as maybe a paperweight.
You stole that from me. That was my first thought, paperweight.
Paperweight. What other? But traditionally, we use the bricks in building houses or building things. That's what that is coming to my mind right now.
When I look at this brick with holes in it, maybe you can plant something in it.
That's a good one.
You know, plants growing out of it. I don't know.
Very good. Yeah. But push it more, because it's after the first wave that the second, possibly third and fourth wave that start to kind of create the real insights or real breakthroughs. So now that you have thought of plants, what else can the holes be used for? So that's one element of the brick or characteristic of it.
Tie them together in a swing and use it as a seat.
Use it as a seat.
Okay.
A little uncomfortable, but it'll do the work.
That's good. Yeah. And in innovation and creative thinking, the idea is to go for quantity, not quality. So even silly ideas, just throw them out, because ideas beget more ideas. And that's the whole thing about this. So kind of as a very quick, keep on running and let your brain do the work unconsciously. What else do you think? Don't work too hard on it. Just, it's a brick. What else can you use it for?
Diffusing light in different ways through it because it's got holes in it. So
Yeah.
maybe used
Right.
it'll be used as a wall, but the light will, you may want the lighting that's coming into your room to be a little different. So perhaps you use it for that purpose.
Oh, there's another one that I've used now just coming to me is, I've seen on highways here, sometimes I see a car which has a tire missing, okay? And they would put these bricks under the tire. Uh, that's another
Yeah.
idea that I've seen. Maybe the other one is maybe if you're on a slope, maybe you put a brick, so maybe you use it as a brake for the car, or maybe if the car is sitting. I've seen that in the past. So those are
Keep
some of the
multiple,
things.
yeah. Another thing that comes to mind is using multiple bricks, create two sections and then use it for a barbecue. I've used that plenty of times.
Oh yeah, yeah, right, right, right.
So let's build up on that. You can use that for that. But what if you were able to use the brick for capturing that heat? So during the day, it captures that heat, and in the evening or afternoon, in cold areas, it can give out that heat back to you. So you can use a latent capability of an object itself as a heat transfer mode.
Right, right. But here's maybe some of the examples that you're showing. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So basically what happens is that you have talked about the car stop, and that's the lower bottom right corner. You can use that. You can use it for pen holders, for example, yeah, and planting a few plants and using it as a decoration piece in garden, coloring it that way. In the top, you can, if you just color them, you can use them as a makeshift books or bookcase kind of a mechanism. But then the brick itself, or the object that we are looking at, have a few characteristics, physical characteristics, and also it has a perception element to it as well. If you look at the physical characteristics, what about using the brick as a chalk or writing device? So you have seen children play this hopping game all over the world, and they put it on the ground, and they are using a characteristic of the brick where you can actually rub one surface with the brick and it will leave a mark. You could actually convert it into a powder form, and in some countries it could be used as some ways, in for colors like the festivals and Holi and whatever. And in some nefarious organizations or countries where health checks are not that good, some people may use it as a replacement chili powder. Not recommending it, but I'm saying that people come up with all kind of different ways. But quite often in third world countries, you see the brick being used as a makeshift weight estimate or approximation. So you might buy tomatoes, potatoes, and you will find that somebody is actually using a stone or a brick to give you a half a kilo, etc. Or you tie it with a rope or a thread, and then you can swing it around and use the laws of physics as centripetal or centrifugal force. So yeah, there are many different options and ways in which a common object, but looking at it from a perspective change helps. And I talked about the physical aspects of it, and this one came up here where a brick as a heat absorber could be used, or conversely, if you wet the brick a little bit and put it on the rooftops in very hot countries, then slowly it would keep the roof colder for some period of time, and therefore you have kind of a cheap way of creating an insulation mechanism for hot or cold countries that way. You could use the brick. I mean, if somebody has a brick in their hand and they just do a kind of an action like this, you have a perception that that is going to be used as a weapon or something to hurt, etc. So there are many different ways to look at the same object and come up from different angles at it.
Right, right. No, I think it's excellent activity, Mubashir. Thanks for bringing this from your creative thinking and innovation bootcamp. So I think one of the things that when I look at things is I look at the things, what is the embedded value? What you're saying? What are the characteristics? Um, but I use an example of a ring, okay? And if you look at this ring, the centerpiece is the pearl, okay? But then there are diamonds in that ring also. When we look at the hotel industry, what is the pearl and what are the diamonds in this industry? Irfan sir, can you talk about maybe some of the things that you think, and maybe we can transform some of those embedded values that we're not seeing that clearly, to maybe move forward with COVID?
Like the pearl, as far as the hotel industry is concerned, is the accommodation that they provide. That's the basic service that the hotel industry is famous for. And that's what, when anyone talks about the hotel industry, they're talking about room nights. Now, if you move away from the room nights aspect, because post-COVID or during COVID, nobody's really going out and staying in a hotel. So what else can you use the hotel for? The hotel has food facilities. They have their F&B department, which is another major segment which gives them a fair amount of revenue. Now, in the COVID era, why can they not start delivering food to homes? Why can they not start providing that food facility and create that into a big business? Fine, their rooms may not be occupied, but their restaurants can be occupied. Again, because there is social distancing, the restaurants cannot accommodate as many people. One of the things that I've noticed that has happened in Dubai recently is that Dubai has 3 or 4 major food distributor apps. There is Uber Eats, which is more of a global phenomenon. Then there's Talabat, and there's Zomato. All of these 3 companies, they're again part of the sharing economy. They aggregate different restaurants and they provide food to your home, or they bring food to your home. But what they do is that they also take a 30% cut from the price of that food that is being supplied to you. So the hotel industry has traditionally not been part of this Uber Eats, Zomato, or Talabat spectrum. When they decided that, okay, let's start delivering food to homes, and they looked at the 30% commission being asked by these vendors, they said, no, let's not get involved with them. Why don't we, as hotels, and these are multiple brands, they've joined together and they're saying, let's do a delivery system, a new delivery system of our own, which means that we then save on that 30%, because everyone is trying to cut costs. And 30% of your revenue to give to a distributor sounds like a really huge amount, especially when you want to conserve on your cost. So they've started a new delivery app or delivery service, which is aggregating restaurants within major hotels. How successful they will be, who knows? But at least they're thinking in a new way. They're looking at their unutilized restaurants, and they're thinking of delivering food at home, perhaps less expensively. So that's one aspect of it, which is something that could take off in the future as they become part of the restaurant service. Because normally you don't usually buy food from a 4 or 5 star hotel. You don't get them to deliver stuff. You get food delivered from a standalone restaurant. But if these hotels, which have the capacity to provide food for you, they bring it over, then why not? I mean, that could be, again, it's also likely to be a healthier option because generally, when you look at a hotel, you think more of that as being a clean place compared to a small restaurant where cleanliness may not be that important. So
Right.
that's one aspect of it which I think is going to take off. Again, in terms of the hotel industry, the fact that they have the ability to clean places is there, but I mean they have room service, they have housekeeping that is perennially involved in cleaning the rooms. But what that cleaning is, that perception has now changed. When I go into a hotel room, the next time I do go to a hotel, the first thing that will come to my mind is who slept on this bed before me? How clean is this room? Those things were there, but they were, below the surface. Now these are of paramount importance to me. So how clean is the accommodation that I'm going to be going into? So that cleanliness part of it is something which the hotel industry is very aggressively looking into. And almost every hotel has now gone into that. So for example, the Singapore Tourism Board, they have collectively started to do an audit of the hotels and give a label called SG Clean, Singapore Clean. So if a hotel has been given that stamp of approval by the Singapore Health Authority, the consumer will feel that it's a clean place. It's a place where we can go. The Hilton hotels, they have partnered with the manufacturers of Lysol, Reckitt Benckiser, and with the Mayo Clinic, and they are also trying to create that cleaning standard. So Accor, another large hotel chain, they have teamed up with Bureau Veritas, and again, they want to create that cleaning standard. So all of these hotels, which you and I earlier thought were already doing that service through their housekeeping department, are now taking that one step further. They are cleaning their surfaces, they're cleaning their hotels, and perhaps, again, doing innovative thinking, maybe they can provide their staff to go and clean your home. That could be another service that they can provide. Could be another source of revenue for them, because that when they clean a room in their hotel, they have the quality of work which gives you that Accor or Hilton or whatever other hotel chain, their standard of cleanliness. Maybe I want my home to be clean in that same way. So that could be another aspect of it.
Right. Right. So what I'm hearing is understand the value and the value delivery. So two important concepts coming out of here. What is creative thinking and innovation telling us, Mubashir? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think Dr. Irfan mentioned quite a number of these things already and very usefully. To me, I would think that look at the value delivery chain and then unbundle some of those and see if there is any value that can be driven from it. So, for example, the aspect of knowledge that's already embedded in a particular hotel. Why would I go to a hotel? Presumably to stay, but there is another aspect of it, which is the food and maybe the chef's specials. They prepare something very special that's very unique to them. So now, is there a way to leverage it and enable it in this difficult time that allows the hotel to generate some either cash directly or at least brand loyalty, so that when the lockdown is finished, people would still come back to them. And I think we previously talked about it a little bit, that could those kind of knowledge assets be leveraged. So for example, could the chef's special recipe be made available for people to try at home? And they have multiple ones, so let's say one of those or two of those. Try it at home, and when the lockdown is finished, bring your freshly prepared food in a little competition or contest, and then they will announce who the winner is, etc. So creating the sense of community, connecting by unbundling the value chain, looking at different characteristics. In a hotel, I think they have like the brand, and you are very right in that is clean, it's professional, things there are going to be high quality, the hotel is certified or audited. But then they have the physical building, which is the building, the rooms, the kitchen, the assets. They have operational side, which includes the concierge, the ecosystem that the concierge manages, the maintenance and servicing of the hotel and building, the financial transactions and booking processes, the checking in and checking out, management of the perishable items with relation to the kitchen and otherwise, and therefore meals and the food and beverages department, and facilities. And what hotels are very good at are events management, and the ability to reorganize a space very quickly to maximize, and adapt and structure according to the event's needs. So can they teach us ordinary people how do they do these, or other organizations who maybe it's a motor garage, or maybe it's a, I don't know, clothing shop or tailor shop, but enabling that kind of interdisciplinary knowledge transfer would help people to think about their own situation in different ways. And of course, they have trained, qualified HR teams, the human resources in there that are able to do the housekeeping and room makeup, or the room service itself, and also the room design and management. And most importantly, I would think that hotels have inflow of different people all the time, and people have their own personalities, and quite often some people are more strict, or prefer certain things very strongly. So how do hotels deal with complaints and the art of delighting customers, different types of customers? How do they do this, and what are the little secrets, so they can then kind of, I don't know, put in their own perspective that at our hotel, this is the framework we use for making customers happy. And all organizations have customers, and who wouldn't want to keep their customer happy? So that's the kind of unbundling of the information that they can use. And final part I would say is, people also go to hotels for experiences. So let's think about it for a second. Right now, but otherwise as well, you would go to maybe a different country and get an overall experience. But in this lockdown period, or just after lockdown period, what about having a local vacation, or stay vacation, or staycation, etc., where to the local hotel you go there, and kind of stay there as if it is a fantastic vacation, and learn a lot more about your own look. Things that are just in our own backyard don't get to be noticed that much, but there is rich cultural heritage and history in lots and lots of places that people just take for granted and don't know about or learn about. So that could be one aspect of it, of being focused locally. And we are in Ramadan at the moment, so how about creating a narrative around an experience where it is focused on and targeted specifically for the housewives or husbands, but actually structuring it that why not give your wife who has been preparing meals in iftars and in the breaking of the fast all the time, stay at our hotel for 3 days and give it as a gift to your better half, so they get a bit of a break and a breathing space from cooking for the whole family all the time. And doing it this way allows a fresh narrative and experience to come into it. which is hyper local, hyper focused, and very much in tune with the communities that they are there. And also teach others how to sell those experiences. Hotels do it all the time. So how do they go about doing their marketing of, say, selling an experience to people could be very useful for a number of different industries.
Wow, 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 wow. Great ideas. I think some of the people who are listening will be delighted, will be thanking for these ideas, both Irfan and Mubashir. Um, I think the key point that you're bringing is the intellectual capital, which is part of the embedded value, which we don't, sometimes we're not realizing. Um, and that's where I think we need to tap into that intellectual capital and find ways to sell, find ways to, because to be honest with you, this economy is a sharing economy, but is a knowledge economy. Okay, what is selling? Because after you automate every single thing, okay, as you're moving forward, things are getting automated, decisions are made by machines, okay, but this knowledge that we have and the expertise that we have and our curiosity for experiences, that's where I think maybe from the marketing standpoint, in my view, my humble opinion, Irfan Saab is here, who's an expert in marketing, but I'm thinking there's a huge value in this whole intellectual capital, the knowledge that we have, or these big industries have. As you were writing, as you're saying, I think I wrote maybe a few things about, like, they have a great program for training. Look at maybe Hilton's or Marriott's or these big hotel chains. They train thousands of people, and there is a lot of churn in those hotels. And but they have a very strong, they have structured programs in place, which other industries can use as well. Because I know that training is one of the top issue, and talent management is one of the top issue in all industries before COVID. Okay, and I don't think so it's going to change moving forward. Complaint management, I think there is an embedded value in complaint management within the hotel industry, like you said, Mubashir. So those are great ways that where these companies can benefit. Um, but let me talk about real quick the hospitality and travel industry. What is this industry dead post COVID? My question. Are people going to stop going to hotels? Are people going to stop traveling? I want to hear your perspective on this. That are you going to travel? What is your travel will look like? How are you going to live post COVID? And how hotel industry, this industry, these spaces can provide post COVID? Mubashir,
I'll tell you, I'll be the first one. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll
go
be
ahead,
the
please.
first one to I'll be the first one to travel once flights to Dubai open up. But how will I travel? That's another thing. My son has just bought several hazmat suits that he says that we should be wearing when we travel. So that could be the new norm. And he tried it on recently, and it's like you really look as if you've come from outer space when you're wearing these things. So I mean, there will be a difference. Yes, there will be essential travel that will take place. In terms of hotels, yes, again, if it's absolutely essential, people will have to stay in hotels, but they will need that reassurance from the hotel that it's absolutely clean. Because if they have any doubt whatsoever about the cleanliness of the hotel, they will not stay there. It may be a great brand, but if they have not done that cleaning, and they're not, one is the hidden cleaning, which is done. You know that it's done. You know that after you leave, things in the room will be cleaned. But now you want to see that happening while you're there. You want somebody to be cleaning all the buttons in the elevator. You want someone to be seen moving around in the restaurant area, doing that cleaning while you're there. You don't want it to be unnoticeable. You want to notice it. So I think that kind of reassurance needs to be done. People will travel, people will go, but I think it'll take a while before that happens. Absolutely essential travel, yes, that will happen immediately because people who are displaced, they will want to go back to their homes, wherever home is. In terms of discretional travel, yes, after staying at home for 6 weeks, I do desire to go out. I do want to go out to a restaurant and eat outside. So the hospitality industry will recover, but I think it will be a slow recovery, especially when that physical distancing will also be taking place. So a restaurant which may have the capacity to serve 100 people will now be able to serve maybe only 30 people. So their costs will also escalate because they will not be able to sustain themselves with the same cost structure. So there will be changes, whether some of these hotels will close down, move into a different segment, like maybe turn into hospitals or a WeWork kind of facility for people to come in and work. Those are all things that could happen, but in terms of the overall existence of the hospitality and travel industry, I have no doubts whatsoever that it will recover. Whether it recovers in 6 months or a year's time depends on how soon we get over this, but there is a future in this. Because we all aspire to travel, we all aspire to see new things. I don't think, if anything, COVID has made us want to explore more.
Right, right. I just want to maybe bring out a paradigm shift here. Okay, what I'm seeing and how the behaviors are changing. Okay, so you were earlier mentioning about the sharing economy, and in this sharing economy, you pretty much don't own anything. You share things. So, and since this remote working has become so popular, and this is one of the biggest paradigm shift that happened is remote working has been accepted globally everywhere. Um, so what I'm thinking is right now is, why do I need to own a house? Why do I need to own a car? Why do I need to own anything? I can just have maybe a suitcase with my personal belongings, and then I can be in Shanghai for maybe 3 months, work out of Shanghai because I like to travel. And I can just stay in Shanghai in a hotel, a nice hotel, for 3 months, and then I can move to Sydney. Then I can maybe come to Dubai. I'm from Karachi. Maybe I live out of Karachi for maybe a few months. Then I move back to Michigan, where I have a lot of family here. Um, so I think there is a shift. I'm seeing a shift from my perspective where um, people would want to use hotels as maybe extended residences, extended stays, and they are able to move around because now they are able to work remote. And maybe if I don't have maybe personal obligations, or maybe my kids are grown up, they're out, I can just move to Shanghai. I love to be in Shanghai. I love to be in Singapore. I love to be in Bangkok. I love to be in many Spain or Italy. Okay, many places. I like to travel, so I can just work out of those cities where, or maybe those destinations. And this is what I'm thinking, that a big paradigm shift that is happening right now, and which is going to happen from my perspective. Mubashir, you're an innovative thinker. What do you think? Do you agree, not agree? What are your perspective?
So very, it's probably not a binary question of agreeing or not agreeing as much as there is a spectrum on it. I have a feeling that the same argument that was presented just a minute ago, that people working from homes can now feel more at freedom and go wherever else and then deliver their work, would also mean that the necessary travel for work could actually get reduced if there is still fear in people's minds about the pandemic and something like that. So instead of going to San Francisco or London or Kuala Lumpur for that meeting, people can use the technology, the learning, and also there would be a legitimate excuse or reason why we can't go to those locations, and therefore that part of the travel industry or hospitality industry or hotels, clientele and patronage may suffer a little bit, may dry up a little bit. Also, companies are finding out these new capabilities of effective communications, and if the leaders are and teams are going to get adapted and adjust their behaviors. And there's a whole lot of different debate about it, like not being able to see other person's body language if it's audio or just a video conference call, not being able to see in the person's eyes. How would that impact the communication and interpersonal relationships? But the world has changed. The world has essentially been shut down and reset, and it's going to reboot. And when that happens, like same way in our computers, many of the background operations that were running behind the scenes, we didn't even notice, get switched off. So when we come out of lockdown, here is what I think may or may not happen. First of all, organizations that deal with public would have to institute new work processes in their own team members. No two team members can be sitting or working closely because of the pandemic fears and infection fears. And also where they are dealing with public, they would have to institute a distancing but also disinfection protocols. That then means that the capacity, we talked about the restaurant, maybe previously it was able to provide a capacity of 100 people. Very popular restaurant might have been full to 90%. Now, because of the distance that needs to be there, they might only be able to provide spacing for 30 people. But that then also means that there is not going to be that much of a faster turnaround. Each party that comes out from an engagement, public engagement, so customer goes out, you have to do something to it, which Dr. Irfan earlier said, a visible impact of cleanliness, i.e. the disinfection protocol. And that would require quite a bit of activity. That also means that those locations that we otherwise like to go to may change in appearance because they have to work out a mechanism to restrict the airflow between people, and transmission of the virus. Now, the virus there may be a vaccine that comes out, there may be effective immunity that gets developed, but you can't do much with the psychology of people. If people think that, well, I'm better off not take the risk, then it's a balancing act between I like to travel, but on the other hand, do I like to travel enough that I would take a risk on my life, or not my life, but if I bring the virus back from somewhere as a carrier, transfer it to my elderly relatives and what have you, is that a price worth paying? These are the difficult questions that we are going to face in coming months and years. And my feeling is that when things run like a clockwork, when they are very efficient, a small change stops the whole clockwork machinery, and there isn't enough capacity in a clockwork machinery to accommodate that small change because things are running to their maximum peak efficiency. What I mean by that is that I'm reminded of the space station Mir, the Russian space station Mir, It actually outlived its anticipated design specified life by another 20, 30 years, because anytime anything broke in that space station, the astronauts, the space people, they were able to fix it then and there, and weld it or put the little scotch tape around it. A very efficient, highly customized space station wouldn't be able to do that, because everything gets built into a fabrication plant. You have the integrated circuit board, and if it's not working, you can't fix it. You have to just chuck it out and replace it. So when things become so efficient, in that efficiency also lies the problem of their own demise, because there isn't enough slack to accommodate the unexpected, the uncertain, the strange or new or weird incidents that may happen.
Right, right. No, I think good perspective. I think a great thoughts here. As we're coming to an end here, I just want to ask maybe a few pointed questions. Okay. Number one, question is, should we, as we're moving forward, okay, should we put a lipstick on a pig moving forward, or fill in the blanks? What is your, real quick, Irfan Saab and Mubashir Saab, give me your perspective on this. Moving forward, should we lipstick on the pig, or what is your response?
I'll give you an example of one of the hotel chains which I have always admired as being very progressive. This is the Radisson Hotel. Way back in the 90s, they came up with free internet. Most hotels didn't even have the internet, and those that did were charging an arm and a leg for it. But the Radisson hotels came up with totally free internet, because they knew that business people, they would be using the internet, and that would be an absolute necessity. You can always increase your room rate by $10 and build that into it, and not charge extra for the internet. But by saying that it's free internet, they suck you in, they bring you in. So I then looked at the Radisson as to what is it that they are doing to cope against this COVID thing. Just like all the other hotel chains, they're also following WHO standards of cleanliness, and they want to make everything nice and clean for us. The other thing that they are doing is that they're trying to streamline their existing relationships with customers. This, I mean, if I had made a booking and I'm not going to be staying at the hotel, they want to refund that to me, or they want to give me credit for it so that I can get, let's say, 2 room nights instead of 1 room night in the future. So that's the kind of facility that they're making. The reason why they're doing this is because they want to retain brand loyalty. And I think that's going to remain a very important and significant factor for the industry. If I am going to be loyal to that brand, sometime down the road, could be 6 months, a year, when I feel comfortable about going and staying in a hotel, I will then select that hotel. So this is the time when the hotel can try to earn and retain that admiration that I had for it. So what are they doing to enable me to, keep them top of mind? So they have to do things to keep me top of mind. Another very interesting example which comes out of the Radisson is that a lot of people are using Zoom conferencing. What they have done is that they have provided screen backgrounds from their hotel, which you can use while you're doing the Zoom conferencing. So for example, if I am in the Radisson in one of my favorite places which I'd gone to and stayed at the Radisson is Longyearbyen in the northernmost tip of Norway, Svalbard. There you can see tremendous sights of nature. Now, if you have that as a background being provided by the Radisson Hotel in Longyearbyen, I would like to use that as a background. So those are the kinds of things that they're doing to retain their customers. Yes, they cannot reinvent themselves tomorrow. They cannot change, but they have to polish themselves, or like this example or the picture that you have, put some lipstick on, put some shine on, put some gloss on, but that gloss has to be deep rooted. It can't be superficial, it can't be artificial. It has to be something which has meaning and it connects with you. So I think that's what's very important.
Right, right, right. Mubashir, real quick.
Real
Business
quick,
model, business model innovation. Lipstick
yeah,
on a pig or rock the boat? What is your vote? What do you think?
I think you have to think fundamentally differently about it, and artificial or superficial or only temporary fixes are not going to cut it through when the world has fundamentally changed, or the behaviors and attitudes are fundamentally changing. What can hotels, or for that matter any industry, do at this moment? It's more like a good friend of mine mentioned, Chris Barrow, who coaches dental industry, that it's like your organization is more akin to an example of the ship in the dock, in the dry dock, where you have a seafaring ship, but now it's in the dock, so you can do the repairs, you can affect the changes. Now that you have a breathing space, when you don't have the day in day out customers coming in and the firefighting happening all around, issues happening all the time, you can now look really deeply into your strategic value proposition. You can understand what and how and where you want to be in future, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years time, and start building the foundation for it. And it's tough times. It's there is no denying it. But we can make a choice. We can choose whether we want to just keep on moaning about it and feel helpless, or we can make the choice that, all right, this is what it is. The world is getting reset. Now, how do I best make use of this opportunity that I have been given with my existing experience and learning and knowledge? What can I do going forward that would make us the survival of the fittest and the survival of the quickest, essentially? So yeah, ship in the dock, enabling the repairs, enabling the fixing so the ship is ready for new destinations when it leaves the dock.
Right, right. No, no, thank you for your perspective. This is the time for effectiveness. This is the time for leadership. Okay, this is the time for radical business model innovation, business model reimagination. Okay, so at this time, just focusing on efficiency, focusing on maybe getting rid of people, is not the time for that. There's a time for that, but now is not the time. So this is what I say. Another perspective I want to take your vote on: how do we move in this environment? Should we move like a turtle, consistent, slow, or should we move like a fast hare, like we're just like Zoom? But sometimes we know that the hare is not consistent, and he always loses the race with the turtle. What is your perspective on this?
Mubashir, you want to
Anyone?
go ahead?
Dr. Saab, you go ahead first, as always.
I think it's a little of both, because you don't know when that light at the end of the tunnel is really going to shine. We don't know how long we are going to be remaining in the tunnel. So while we remain in the tunnel, I will endorse what Mubashir earlier said, that this is the time for repair. It's the time for doing the things that you knew that were needed to be done and work on that. Do you totally change from a ship into a house, perhaps, and make yourself totally grounded? Maybe not at this time. Let some more water run from under the ship before you make that decision. Because I don't think this is the time to totally run and shift gears, but it's also not the time to stay very, very slow and just wait and do nothing. It's a time to do things. It's a time to innovate. It's a time to Think about doing all those things. Like, again, do the things that you already thought that you should be doing, but you didn't have the time to. There's the time to do that. That's how I feel.
Bashir, one sentence.
One sentence. Well, the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's hope that it's the light towards the freedom and prosperity, and not a train engine coming full speed towards us. So yeah, I agree with what Dr. Irfan said. Basically, combine the consistency and speed both, and reinvent the whole value proposition and paradigm. So when we come out of it, major changes tend to, it's not good to make major changes midst crisis, because if we are going to make the changes, it's best to do it when it's the business as usual and business as normal. But now that we have been we have landed in this situation, there aren't that many options. Let's get on with it.
Right. Um, so you know that I put a picture here with this turtle with a rocket. So the consistency of the turtle and the speed of the hare is maybe what I'm hearing from both of you. Last question. Should we think inside the box or outside the box here? What do you think? This is like somebody, I found this picture very amusing. It's inside the box, which is the guy's inside this big box, or maybe he's thinking outside the box. What do you guys think?
We're all inside a box right now. We're boxed in. And the only thing we can think of is what is there outside? How do we get out? How do we improve the situation? So I personally think that we need to innovate. We need to think of something new to do and add on something extra to whatever it is that we are doing. You mentioned earlier that the hotel industry has a very good teaching staff that is involved in training their hotel industry. So why not extrapolate that? Why not go beyond just the hotel industry and teach other sectors as well? So you know what your resources are, you know what your skills are. Use your skill set and maybe expand it into a different industry. That's how I think. You think outside the box, do things, but base it on your existing skill set.
Sure. Mubashir, you teach this concept in your boot camp, creative thinking and innovation boot camp. Think inside the box and think outside the box. What is your perspective on this situation right now?
Yeah, so basically the box essentially represents boundaries, and main thing is that can we expunge the boundaries or go outside the boundaries or limitations or barriers to our perception and thinking. And that's a keystone and key characteristic of innovation, where box, or why can't we call it sphere? Think outside the sphere, or ball, or whatever. Doesn't matter, but basically going outside the boundaries and straddling different waves is how innovation happens. Dr. Irfan mentioned that, thinking about how the industry is going to go, and thinking about other industries. One of the industries that I have worked with in the past is the dental industry. So think about how hotels and dental industry can have some commonalities and synergies. In the dentist or dental industry, when the lockdown is finished, people are still going to have their toothaches and oral or dental health problems. But they are going to have this issue where they come into the practice, they have one room where they would sit, and then the patient goes out, and then for a 1.5 hours time period, that room has to be thoroughly disinfected by the one nurse and etc. And then the next patient comes in. But that's going to result in a huge backlog of patients with problems trying to get in there, but because of the disinfection protocols, they can't be seen, and therefore your supply chain and the throughput is affected. What other industry do we know about that has lots and lots of rooms, that has professionally trained teams of people that pride themselves in turning around a room and cleaning it up and etc., who can be trained in maybe some of the disinfection protocols, and where it's big enough in terms of building and lifts and access ways and pathways that social distancing and isolation can still be practiced. So I'm thinking about hotel industry, by the way. So if a hotel, say for example, says that I'm going to work closely with my local dental practices and allow 2 or 3 floors. So each time patients can be in the rooms and the dental team can go from room to room with their instruments and do what needs to be done. That wouldn't work for all treatments and all patients, but if it can help 60, 70, 80% of the patients, private patients who are willing to pay, therefore you save the hotel industry and the dental industry together by kind of collaborating and thinking about an alliance that otherwise they may not have thought about.
Very nice, very beautiful. So we're talking about ecosystem. I think we should be thinking about the ecosystem and what is present. So with this, gentlemen, I thank you, and I think it's been a great session today, and I appreciate the valuable feedback from everyone. So wish you all the best. Stay safe, and we will be back with another topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Stay safe.